as we do every week, we present our conference honorees from this past Saturday. And our players of the week from this past week were the Choice Hotels Offensive Player of the Week was Monmouth running back Levon Chaney. Our Defensive Player of the Week from Coastal Carolina, defensive tackle Jabari Bothwell. Special Teams Player of the Week was kicker Ryan Granger. And the Crons Brand Freshman of the Week, Charleston Southern linebacker Solomon Brown. As we look ahead to this week's action and preview our games coming up this Saturday in Week 9, we will have the second ever matchup between ranked Big South teams on Saturday. Number 19/24 Charleston Southern hosts number 1/2 Coastal Carolina Saturday night 7 p.m. on the American Sports Network. Coastal Carolina's D'Angelo Henderson became the FCS record holder for most consecutive games with a touchdown, now at 21. Congratulations to him on this achievement. The FBS record, which is next in line, is 27 at the NCAA Division I level. Another FCS record belongs to the Big South as John Lunsford from Liberty kicked his 12th career field goal from 50 yards or longer. He had a 57-yarder this past Saturday at Kennesaw State for his 12th career from beyond 50, breaking the record he shared of 11 with two other players. Charleston is 3-0 in the Big South for just the second time in program history, both under Coach Jamie Chadwell, while this Saturday Coastal is looking for its third consecutive 3-0 start. Coastal remains one of 5 undefeated teams in FCS. They're 7-0. They are the first team to start 7-0 3 different times in league history. Kennesaw State quarterback Trey White, he is the first quarterback in Big South history to rush for 3 touchdowns in a game twice in the same season. He is approaching some single-season records for quarterback rushing as he's third on the list for yardage and touchdowns currently at this time. Our ESPN 3 game of the week is Monmouth at Kennesaw State at 1 o'clock on Saturday. And our ASN broadcast, as we mentioned, is the matchup between Coastal and Charleston. Head coach Joe Mowgli of Coastal Carolina is 1 win away from 40 wins at Coastal, which would make him the 5th coach in league history with that victory total. After bye week, Donnell Williams from PC has a chance to move up the Big South career tackle chart. He is 2 away from becoming the second player with 200 career solo tackles, which he should reach this coming weekend. Monmouth quarterback Cody Williams continues to pace ahead of the Big South freshman record for total offense. The only one, no quarterback has ever averaged more than 200 yards as a freshman, and he is currently above that total. Liberty's Chima Izuehe, he is approaching the Big South single season sack record. He has a league-leading 8 so far. The record is 9.5. And Josh Woodrum, Liberty quarterback, became the second player ever with 10,000 career yards of total offense as he surpassed the mark this past Saturday against Kennesaw State. The Flames have a bye this week, so next week we'll talk about some of the records he could eclipse going into the month of November. So those are just some quick news and notes to pass along. And now we will begin with our coaches. And our first coach every week, the head coach of the Running Bulldogs of Gardner-Webb, Carroll McCray. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Mark. How you doing?
Doing all right. Gardner-Webb ran into a tough Charleston Southern team, falling 34-0. Maybe you can open up and talk about that game against the Bucks, and then we'll start taking questions and talk about this week's opponent.
Well, the Bucks have a good team. I think, they're well deserving of their ranking. Coach Chadwell and his staff have done a fine job putting their 3 units together, and certainly proved to be too much for us. We, you go through ball games, and sometimes it's a little bit you, a little bit them, and somewhere in between you hope to scratch a few things out. But it was a lot them being a good football team, and a lot of us with missed opportunities and mistakes that we made. They moved very, very fast and got good team speed. They did a real good job with their plan, and our execution was way behind subpar to try to challenge a fine team like them. I thought their quarterback played a really fine game and spread the ball around to quite a few people through the air. We know they're a fine run football team, and they moved from their run over to their play action pass. Did a really good job with that. So compliments to them, and they'll certainly have opportunities ahead. It'll be, as you said in the opener, a really fun game to watch Saturday night as they play Coastal Carolina. So, back to the drawing board for us, and headed on the road down to Presbyterian College to compete against Coach Nichols and his bunch, and looking at them, I think they have certainly improved themselves each and every week, as Coach Nichols' teams constantly do while he's been there. Coach Varn and Coach Spangler do a good job, respectively, with their offense and defense, and I think their team is very indicative of the football team that played down at Coastal Carolina. I think they had the week off last week. The week prior to that, they were down in Conway, and they fought extremely hard, as they always do, and put themselves in position to tie the football game and maybe take that thing to overtime and challenge, the number one team in the country. So that's the football team that we've seen, we're preparing for, that we expect, and they got a lot of guys from their team that went 6-5 last year and put them in pretty good position in the Big South Conference. So I'm staring at that too deep right now, and there's a lot of veteran players there. Maybe some spots where they're playing some youthful guys are not necessarily as young as they are inexperienced as far as games, but those guys have improved each and every week from the Miami, Ohio game to Coastal Carolina. Now a week of rest and preparation. I'm sure that we'll continue to see improvement of them as we head down that way. So we got to improve ourselves. We got to make sure that we have less mistakes on the football field. We're in a better position to make plays this coming week if we want to have a chance to challenge the Presbyterian Blue Hose down at their place on Saturday.
All right, thank you, Coach. At this time, we'll start taking questions for Gardner-Webb head coach Carroll McCray. To ask a question, please press *1 on your phone at any time, or click the Q&A link near the top of your browser and click raise hand if you joined us via the web. And while we wait for questions to come in, Coach, you could argue to say that both Gardner-Webb and PC are very similar in their type of defenses, both stout defenses for sure, great experience on that side of the ball, and some of the offense too, some kind of the same with that. Just talk about the similarities of the defenses. You all played to a 14-7 game last year, and right now on paper it looks like it's going to be another low-scoring game this year.
Well, I think if you look at paper, that's probably what most people would say. Although, it looked to me like that offensively, Presbyterian was coming into their own and finding their way pretty good down at Coastal Carolina 2 weeks ago. So I think that they're making strides offensively, showing that they can make plays with the receivers as well as their run game. So that's what we certainly expect to see, improvement on that side of the ball. What we need to do is improve ourselves offensively and work harder, with angles and numbers, and make sure that our kids execute what they're asked to execute. But I think it'll be, two fairly matched football teams. I think, the team that prepares mentally as well as the physical aspect throughout this week and can win the kicking game and the turnover margin is probably going to have a upper hand in this ball game. And certainly, they've done a pretty good job taking care of the football. So I think two very similar teams, a lot of strength on defense with both football teams. I think the kicking game will be a big, big factor, and maybe who can get their quarterback and their skilled guys involved in the game to make some first downs to stay on the field will be the determining factor of the game.
And last year, you could say you were probably the first one to really get a glimpse of Darrell Bridges. He rushed for 135 yards in that meeting, kind of this big breakout game last year. He's been doing that and more this season. Just your impressions of him last year, and then what you've seen, what he's improved on so far this year.
Well, I think he's a kid that really has good balance. I've watched that game down at Coastal 2 or 3 times this week, and I think he's very patient, and schematically, when he understands what their linemen are doing up front, and he understands when they knock a dent in the defense, when to try to take advantage of it, when to slow down, so the next level will open up for him. And I think he's well coached, but I think he's a good instinctive runner. I think he has really good speed, and I think he's a tough guy. He can take the carries. He doesn't mind running between the tackles. And I think he's a real workhorse for Coach down there. And I think, get that running game going to help their quarterback is what I saw down at the Coastal Carolina game. That opened some things up for them with their quarterback to throw to the receivers. Got a lot of respect for him. I think he's a fine back.
And you mentioned this in your opening comments, just things that you need to work on, I think, turnover-wise. And from the Charleston Southern game, where are some things during that CSU contest that you need to correct, and obviously that you're going into this week?
Well, we had too many unblocked hats. Coach Staggs and those guys have a good defense. They got some really fast guys over there, and it's one thing to put the hats in the right spot and execute some blocks and things offensively, but we had too many missed blocks on the perimeter as well as some inside, and couldn't get anything going to move the sticks after a few first downs in the first drive. So missed opportunities because of angles and numbers and understanding the way the defense moves quickly on you. So got to improve that this week. Got to make sure that our guys know how the defense is going to react to what we're doing and put them in position and see if they'll pull the trigger and do what they're asked to do once they make contact. So got a lot of work to do there. I told the coaches all along, we're youthful in some spots. We'll be coaching some of those same things the last game of the season, but we really need to see some improvement, in these last 4 games out of some young guys that should be turning more veteran because they're getting some opportunities to play. So we need to see some growth and maturity out of our football team, and we need to see some consistency and steadiness out of some of our older guys. So that's what I'm looking for as we prepare this week and head down there.
All right, we're taking questions for Gardner-Webb head coach Carroll McCray. Once again, *1 on your phone at any time, or click the Q&A link near the top of your browser. Click raise hand if you join us via the web. Coach, my final question for you is: we mentioned Donnell Williams from PC, now moving up in the top half of the top 5 in the league in tackles. You have Tanner Birch, who's 2 away from 300 as well, which would be I believe the 13th player in the Big South history with 300 tackles. Just comparing the two redshirt seniors and just how well they've their careers they've had.
Well, I think they're similar guys. I think both kids are tough guys, and they're tackle to tackle guys that stay at home in there and make you tough in the middle. And I think it looks as if when you get a veteran guy, between Williams and a couple and Dickey and Britt and Byers down there, those guys have 20, 24, 29, and 28 starts among them. You get some real guys that have familiarity. They understand what's going on. They can make sure you're lined up properly, and that's what Birch does for us. I think the older guys defensively, they do that for Coach Spangler and Coach Nichols, and it's good to have one of those quarterbacks on the field. And I think that when you face difficulty anytime defensively, and we did some last week against Southern, it comes down to the basic things, assignment, alignment, and communication. And that's what an older linebacker does for you. I'm sure that's what, this young man does for their defense. Very evident on film. Solid football player. He's very relaxed, and rarely does he make mistakes on where he needs to go to try to help his defense get a guy down.
All right, Coach, I'm looking to see if there's any final questions for you. Right now, I'm not seeing any, so we'll go ahead and let you go. But I appreciate you joining us, and good luck Saturday against PC.
Okay, Mark. Thanks. Y'all have a good day. Bye-bye.